I hope this programming the last 3 days has been good for you. It has been amazing for me. I've talked to some of my favorite people. We got to talk to Dr. Robert Malone. That was amazing. And now we're sitting here with Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard. I guess you get to keep that title, don't
Aloha.
you?
I honestly don't know how that works, but
Aloha. Thank you for coming here again, back at CPAC. But, you know, it's interesting. This whole year we've been getting closer and closer to this idea that there is no really right or left issues. I mean, I was just writing down this, like, to be alliterative, privacy, property, and parents. I mean, you know, these are all issues that even Governor Youngkin, when he campaigned, pulled so many votes away from Terry McAuliffe because he went to places that the Republican consultants were saying, don't go there, that's a Democrat issue. But it's not. It's just common sense, isn't it?
It is common sense, and you're exactly right. I've always had trouble with labels, and people try to pigeonhole us and put us in different boxes. Are you this or are you that? And, you know, even the terms progressive and conservative, what do those terms actually mean? They mean different things to different people. And when it comes right down to it, what are the values that bring us together as Americans? What are the issues that are common to, you know, every American and every American family?
Well, you look at how different the founders were.
Exactly.
When they came together. This is like Jefferson, Adams.
They had some solid debates, man.
Wow. But then what they came out with, I mean, Patrick Henry, George Mason fighting over the Bill of Rights.
Yeah.
And you think of how many things have been protected by that Bill of Rights that Madison didn't originally put in the Constitution.
Yeah.
So those kind of fights, everyone says, oh, they're fighting against each other. Even the squabble over the speaker. I mean, it's certainly not to the same level of the Bill of Rights, but you stand up for something, you get what you need, and look at how many people it's been protected.
And that was that example is such an important one because we've seen, unfortunately, obviously I served in Congress for 8 years and experienced this firsthand of how, you know, in this representative form of government, every single member of the Congress is there to represent their constituents and to serve the country. Supposedly, but this is the problem, is over time, the individual empowerment of each member has been so weakened to the point where you have 4 or 5 people making all the decisions and have the muscle to be able to try to bully people into doing what they want. And so that battle during for the speakership I thought was so important. And guys like Chip Roy, I was in touch with him and some of the others.
UVA grad, by the way.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that until earlier this year.
They brought common sense proposals. They stuck to their guns, recognizing that this wasn't about them personally. It was really about every member of Congress having the ability to represent their constituents.
So how powerful is the political party? Because I ask people who are still in the game, and they're like, oh, no, not at all, Joe, not at all. But I mean, I listen to you.
It's incredibly powerful.
How do they wield this kind of authority? I mean, I've always argued that we should take away their guaranteed ballot access. Make the Democrats and Republicans go get the same amount of signatures the Libertarians have to. And if you took that away, maybe they wouldn't be the kingmakers that they think they are. Does that make any sense?
I mean, I think it does make sense. I haven't heard anyone bring that proposal forward, but it does make sense. Make it a fair and level playing field across the board. I mean, look, the thing that gives them incredible leverage over individual members of Congress and gives them incredible influence is money.
Yeah.
Is money. And the infrastructure and rules that they have put in place that heavily weights the power of the party over the individual. Just one example of many is if you wanted to make a contribution to someone running for Congress, there's a limit. Federally, they say you can only give, I don't know what it is right now, $2,800, I think, 29, something like that. But if you wanted to write a check to a political party, you can write a very, very, very large check of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so immediately you see right there the imbalance that gives the party much more leverage over that individual and takes away a lot of their ability to, you know, vote their conscience, vote their district.
Well, and that's the signs and the door knockers and all that. Now, you were just on Capitol Hill testifying in the tech hearings, and this is really puzzling to me. I mean, I'm in a business where if I say something on the air that's slanderous to somebody, they can come right after me with lawyers. And this is why I've always said 230's got to go away so these tech publishers, they're really publishers in my view, can be held to the same account that a magazine publisher is.
Yeah.
I wonder, though, sometimes if they've been given this cover so that our investigative state, the FBI and those folks, DHS, can have access to their rooms. We'll give you a monopoly. Mm-hmm. You let us see what's going on. I mean, am I being a conspiracy analyst? Or
cause and effect, I don't know maybe. Exactly, but there's no question about the fact that our federal agencies, our government, they are being weaponized, and they are carrying out this weaponization against whether it's political opponents or people they deem a threat to their agenda or narrative. We are, and I say we because I have been on those lists, the Twitter files have exposed, but we are being censored by our government through the hand of big tech. So they're found this loophole to exploit where, hey, we're not doing it, we're abiding by the Constitution, but meanwhile they have big tech doing their bidding. What really, frankly, whether they like it or not.
Last one, I know you have to go. We heard all about, we've got to be strong in this Ukraine issue because otherwise China's going to move into Taiwan. All of a sudden, China shows up and says, oh, we want to be the peacemaker. Where we played a little bit into, over militarizing our position in Ukraine, and all of a sudden China comes in and like a good judo move, pulls us over while we think we're being aggressive.
I think that we have had such a spectacular failure of leadership on all of this, from the President of the United States and Democrat and Republican warmongers in Washington from the very beginning. How many times in different wars in the past have we been sold a war on the basis of freedom and democracy? That's exactly what's happening here right now. Selling a war on the compassion of the American people for those who are suffering in other places, which is true. We do care, and we wish that we could help alleviate that suffering. But the reality is, number one, that we cannot always do that. Number two, if President Biden and these warmongers in Washington really cared about the people of Ukraine, they would have done everything possible to try to prevent this war. And once it started, to support all efforts towards a peaceful negotiated outcome, which Russian and Ukrainian officials were doing until the United States and NATO stepped in and said, no, Ukraine, walk away. So they have stood in the way of peace. They have stood in the way of ending this war. And they are today, what is it, another $400 million to Ukraine? Last week it was another $500 million. Meanwhile, I was just in East Palestine, Ohio. People there are being told, hey, we'll give you $1,000 as an inconvenience fee. That's so freaking insulting. It is like throwing salt into an open, sucking chest wound, saying, oh, hey, we're here for you.
Yeah, salt will clean it.
It is horrible. So maddening. So ultimately, what does this mean to us as the American people, as voters? We need leaders in this country who are thinking about what decisions do we make that serve the best interest of the American people, our freedom, our prosperity, and our security? Not acting out of fear. Well, what about this? What about that? Well, let's punish this person. What about us? What about us right here at home? And that's unfortunately the cause of so much of the failure in leadership that we're seeing. They ultimately don't care about us.
No, they care about themselves and their place. Tulsi Gabbard, thank you so much. Is there a best website for people to follow you, find out? Facebook, Instagram, whatever?
Follow me. I'm at Tulsi Gabbard, Tulsi Gabbard, on all social media, and you can visit me at my website, tulsigabbard.com, and see what I'm up to.
Well, keep us in the loop if you do anything public policy-wise, because we want to hear about it. Thank you so much for dropping by.
It's great talking to you.
There's lots more from our CPAC live coverage, and you can find it on our flagship station, WCHV.com's website under podcasts. But until next week, for all of us here at the Virginia Institute for Public Policy, find us online at virginiainstitute.org. I'm Joe Thomas. So long, and thanks for all the fish.